Hello, hello, hello. This is another Kirblog where we talk about Super. So Vegeta EX is here and Masako too. And hopefully you will be listening all the way through. Cause if you don't, I'll be really upset. And everybody close their windows now. But for those of you who didn't, hi, welcome back. We're doing yet another Kirblog about talking about Dragon Ball related bullshit. I'm joined by, as has often joined me many times in talking about the same bullshit, Mike of Vegeta EX. Say hello, sir.
Hi, Chris. Hi, everyone.
And for the first time since all the way back in my my 7, or I guess technically 8, because he was late on that one, so we had the extra one with Lanny. DBZ related Kirblogs leading up to Resurrection F coming out back in spring of last year. It's Masako X Lawrence Simpson. Hello, sir.
Hello, Mr. Kirb. I've been expecting you. Because you've invited me, so I was expecting it.
Good. Okay, yeah, I was about to say, like, wait a minute. Yeah, this is the first time since, I think, like, God, that was like April of last year, I think we did that.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And just talking to you and Lanny about how Team 4-Star began and all that. So welcome back, since it's been all that time. All right, so, I guess, if you haven't already gathered from, I guess, the video title or whatever by this point, or if perhaps you're listening to this on Mike's podcast feed, because I'm guessing this will be also a new Consensu episode, technically.
If I'm editing the show, it's going in my feed.
Yes, it's going in the feed, so it's technically that too, whatever. Hi, everybody, also from the forums, if you're listening to this too. Okay, anyway, yes, we're going to talk about today, as it is now, we're recording this, once again, time traveling, what else is new? We're recording this on Wednesday night, January 20th. This will be going up on my channel on the 26th. I'm skipping a weekend because I have a charity thing I'm doing with John Ortiz. Some call me Johnny, which I hope some of you listening were there for, and hopefully it went off without a hitch. But anyway, so this will actually be coming out just after what I believe we're up to, the 28th episode of Dragon Ball Super airing?
Yeah, and we're going to be starting up the next arc.
Okay, well, so we'll be, technically, if you're keeping up with it as they come out, we'll technically be behind by one episode, but that's okay, because we're mainly going to talk about the resurrection of F/revival of F/Fukatsu no F/ the Golden Freeza Saga, as I'm now going to
Chris,
coin it.
Can we just call it the other Freeza arc?
Sure. I like the Golden Freeza Saga. I think that's kind of cute, but in my old school Funimation lining up your videotapes to make a picture way of doing things. But yes, the other Freeza arc, the return adaptation of the new movie that came out within the last year. It's extremely strange to say that we've now had a theatrical version of the story followed by a TV anime adaptation of the same story, both within the span of 2015. But here we are. So guys, we've gone through another several months now of Dragon Ball Super airing, and Mike, you and I have been talking about this stuff. But Masako, you also just did a little what was it? It was the top 7 or top 10 facts of how we can make Dragon Ball Super more super. Was that what it was that just came out recently?
It was like there was no particular order about it, Kirb. It was just basically 7 ways that Dragon Ball Super can be super. It's on my channel, and basically I just thought, 7 facts, Dragon Balls, 7 of them. You gotta find those Dragon Balls and all those kind of things. So why not? People like those articles with the number at the beginning. You won't believe what number 4 is.
Oh. Well, in kind of talking about that, just recently, the thoughts have been less than stellar, but Mike and I, when we talked about the Battle of Gods adaptation, or the Beerus Saga, quote unquote, as I was calling it, our kind of thing was like, all right, we like the movie generally more than the TV adaptation, but still open and excited about, what could be coming up in the future, because the new material that was added and the new, just like little fun adventure-y filler episodes were enjoyable enough that it's like, we're not losing hope. I'm going to assume that that's probably still kind of what we're all at, because we were about to start a completely new storyline. But I guess, Masako, since you are new, why don't we start with this? So, in keeping up with these episodes, And then obviously off camera we were talking about how you have seen Resurrection F, of course, in theaters, just like we did. What did you think about just the last couple months and just kind of going about this entire retelling of what we've only just watched a little while ago?
Well, the interesting thing is that outside the US, it took a lot longer to get into our hands, really. And I willed myself throughout the entire summer not to look for any kind of video feeds of it or ask anybody of my US friends to tell me what happened. So I kept my spoilers at arm's length.
That is incredibly impressive in the digital age. I just want to say.
I was really impressed with myself. I didn't expect how I was able to do it, considering I breathe Dragon Ball in some shape or form every day. But eventually, at the end of September, I scored some tickets. I went with my girlfriend to cinema in London. It was a very small screening, but there was only one screening when I booked it. But thankfully, there were 5 screenings on that day. We got it for initially 1 day, but eventually they extended it out to about maybe 3, 4, possibly 5. But yeah, so actually, I believe today they're actually showing in some cinemas here the 3D version of Resurrection F.
It's like way after they're doing that. Okay,
so anyways, going on to what it was. So I didn't see Resurrection F, and pretty much anyone in the UK didn't see Resurrection F until September, in some cases early October. And
wow.
Yeah,
okay.
So basically we got to the Resurrection F arc late October, early November. So basically, we'd only just seen the movie, and then we were getting into Super.
and then seeing an adaptation of it like the next week. Was that jarring at all?
It was. So it was just like kind of like almost like.
But I already watched it. Now can we get to the new shit?
The Beerus Saga for me, at least there was a bit of a gap. So I felt like, okay, I like the differences. I like that. I like that Bulma's on a boat. I like that. And despite the animation inconsistencies and episode 5, the thing was though is that I've noticed that whenever Super gets a bad rap and there's been a really notoriously bad episode, there usually comes an episode after that where it comes on strong. Like, episode 5 was really, really shockingly poor. And then, only in a couple of scenes. But then episode 6 came in with some great Vegeta humor. And it was just like, nice, okay, you've redeemed yourself. And it slowly went back up. Then it just fell down again. And same goes for Resurrection F, really.
On that same kind of note, just to cut in real quick,
sure.
And Mike, like, on your website, you have a lot of extensive guides and coverage written by various folks.
I was going to say, that sounds exactly like how Dragon Ball Z already was anyway.
Yeah. Well, and kind of to surmise that and that how, there's different animation directors, every other episode. There, sometimes there are different scenario writers, especially now in this case where there's new material to be written from the ground up. Mm-hmm. But I guess on that note, maybe not just to educate you, Masako, but anybody out there who might be curious, like, is there anything you want to throw in about that like maybe might be worth talking about?
I mean, it goes back all the way to Super as a product from the beginning, where it was kind of announced out of nowhere. They literally had nothing to show for it. It's clearly been a rushed production from beginning to end. We've seen the exact opposite with Super from what we saw with the Freeza movie. And yeah, the UK, you guys got it a little later than everyone else, but all things considered, that movie made its way throughout the entire world much faster than Battle of Gods did.
Oh, yeah.
Home releases came out more quickly, although you guys are still waiting on your home release, but you're getting like a double pack and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Super is kind of the antithesis of that, where it's rushed, it's clearly got production problems. We're hearing hints of that from the people literally working on the show itself, saying how rushed its production schedule is. The amount of outsourced animators is very different from how it was in the 90s. And Super is still, we're only just hearing there's going to be the first international release will be for Toonami Asia. It's still not out anywhere. Super is kind of a mess.
Yeah, it's a very strange, I don't even know how to describe it. This sort of time that the Dragon Ball franchise is in is very interesting because off the heels of Resurrection F, which did extremely well all over the place, all across the board, and with the game still doing really well and the show still being on TV, like with Kai airing on Toonami and everything, like its presence is still very much like ingrained, all over the place. But Super right now is this kind of weird thing where it's like, because we still don't have it, we're not gonna have it for probably a very long time, and I don't know, I'm like, and because of the way the internet is kind of like talking about it right now in very much a bit of a negative connotation, I don't know, it's a little concerning, I guess you could say, like as a fan and as someone who like wants the franchise to do well.
Right.
I don't think anybody necessarily wants it to do badly. We'll get to that at the end, but what I'm hoping for is that, by the time this comes out and, the new stuff starts up, I'm hoping that things will change a little bit.
Don't get your hopes up. Do not get your hopes up for anything there.
Fair enough. Although I guess on that same note, Mike, I don't remember if when we recorded ours, some of the other little extra filler episodes between the Battle of Gods and Resurrection F stuff had come out. But I guess, even if we reiterate a little bit, we did have a couple extra episodes of like, hey, here's what everybody's been up to in the meantime after, the fight between Beerus and Goku.
Right.
And I will say, if we didn't already, that I thought those episodes were very, very cute.
Yeah, they were fantastic. We did not talk about those last time. So we got the great stuff where the aliens came down and were afraid of a particular type of Earthling. And we had some great, between character moments there. Stuff like Goku learning how to use a cell phone. That is exactly what I want out of my Dragon Ball in 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
And those moments they were very well directed. Everyone felt precisely in character. That moment where Goku busts through like the Kool-Aid Man, I mean, it was just so spot on with how those characters are.
I felt so happy that I felt so disillusioned at the end of the Battle of Gods arc, and I was like, I really don't know what to think about this. And then I get into the filler and I saw the eye catcher for Mr. Satan going Super Saiyan. And we're like, what?
Right.
That caused almost as much of the stink as saying Vegeta in an amusement park train. That was just like, that caused the internet to explode and go like, what?
Right.
And it's like, I've got to see this. It's like Will Smith says, I got to get me one of these.
A highlight for me was also great Saiyaman Man Gohan playing with Pan and Mr. Satan flipping out about that and everything. That was a particularly very cute
And who
moment.
could forget just Goku going like, saying, hey, I want you to hit me. Just hit me. And then just hearing old Nazar just going, Whoa! and then just picking the tractor up. I have to admit, that was probably one of the funniest things I've seen in Dragon Ball in a long time.
A pessimistic friend of ours who will remain nameless went so far as to say that moment that has been gifted all over Twitter and Tumblr is so far the best thing that has ever happened in Dragon Ball Super at all.
I can see that.
I don't know if I would agree with that, but that was some spot on animation.
To get to what you were saying, yes, those transitional moments were wonderful, and like the very earliest episodes of Super, episodes 1, 2, and 3, gave us great moments with the characters. It was kind of that reunion again, and I guess the only real criticism you could have would be, well, how many reunions do we need? We had the Jump Super Anime Tour special, which was a reunion. Battle of Gods is basically a reunion, and then we just retold Battle of Gods, so that was kind of a reunion, and then to spend more time with the characters, getting to know them again, did we need that on top of it? So I feel like that's the only real criticism you could give of that transitional material. I'm not going to call it filler because, again, this is the original product. It's, yes, filling time, but definition filler, shonen, blah, 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 whatever. All in all, I think you pretty much had a great time watching that transition. All the meanwhile, you're waiting for the new version of the Frieza arc to start. And then even more, furthermore, if you're following along with Toyotaro's manga that's being published in V-Jump each month, you know there are more characters that need to be introduced. And you're sitting there going, wait, in the manga, they're already here. When is this gonna start? So you kind of get that anticipation building and looking for the differences, and how is that going to be different from that with all the other differences on top of it? So there's a lot of analysis going on while you're watching it.
See, funny thing, kind of tying them with two different points you just kind of hit up. So in talking about the reunions, so the Jump Super Anime Tour, for those of you who have not seen, it's the return of Goku and his friends special. Previously, when Battle of Gods came out, even in the dub, they kept everything with this is accurate. Vegeta's little brother Tarbal was acknowledged as character who exists. And we didn't get the Jump Super Anime Tour anywhere else outside of just on that website and at the festival that they showed it at in Japan.
Yeah, it was 2008, and Toei, well, really, Shueisha was in charge of it. They did do a global stream of it, subtitled in, I think, 4 languages. So there was a legal option to view it. And then the only other thing we got, Tarble was included as a playable character in Raging Blast 2, which I think was 2010?
Yes, I believe so. Yes. So, and then in the Battle of Gods adaptation in the anime, we didn't talk about this, Mike, because it just wasn't worth mentioning.
Yeah.
But Tarble was not brought up in that little moment of, we have to find like 5 Saiyans for Goku to do the transformation. Oh, don't you have a little brother? They did not keep that in there.
Right.
And interestingly enough, in terms of what we're looking forward to with some certain new characters, we have perhaps a new Saiyan character who happens to look a lot like that same design of Tarble. It's not the same character, but he looks a little like him.
Yeah.
And even on the dub side, part of me kind of thinks that because Tarble ended up amounting to nothing and they never dubbed that special in the end, and Todd Habercorn was lined up to play him because he did have been Raging Blast 2. Part of me thinks maybe Chris Sabat was just I'm just going to give you Jocko because Tarble didn't amount to anything.
Exactly. You deserve something here.
Just totally, I mean, and Todd played Jocko wonderfully, so I'm just I'm totally okay with that. Yeah, so I guess going to finally the episodes themselves, and I remember I definitely said this on when we did the Beer Saga discussion thing, Mike. I was kind of trying to have a little bit of an open mind because I liked Battle of Gods more than Resurrection F, and Resurrection F left a lot of things open, and there were a few different things that I felt they could have expanded upon and maybe done some things better, etc. I was really kind of hoping for that, and a tiny little bit they did with certain things, but they really didn't go to much of anything further than I was hoping.
Right. Well, to go with that, and I think you just said it, and this is not an original thought, I think many people felt that as opposed to Battle of Gods, the Freeza movie had the most to gain from an extended version or a retold version. There was so much you could do with Frieza's training that we sort of did get. Some of the things we thought might be expanded were not, and some of the things we didn't expect to be expanded were. So maybe let's take it in that direction for a little bit. Redirecting your own question here, Chris. Again, I can't help it. I'm so used to moderating discussions. I just
please, rein me in.
So over to the Masako of the X's. What did you think? Let's go specifically to Taguma. That was so different that I don't think any of us expected that to be the different thing, right?
I have to admit, I was discussing this, and in my mind, I was just thinking, as soon as I saw the frog, I went right, interesting. And because I had a feeling, because that Taguma in the movie is basically shot off into space.
Right.
As collateral damage of Freeza having a little temper tantrum. First temper tantrum of the day and new life. But essentially, it was just nice. I'm thinking, we're actually getting something with Taguma. And it fits with his character. Yeah, he wants to prove himself. And he basically, after being kind of he's like, this Freeza guy, he's not so tough.
Right.
One punch, basically almost like one punch. And he's just basically absolutely I don't know what to think about my life anymore. Freeza, you caused all this turmoil in my mind. Teach me, and sort this out. Basically, atone for my confusion. And sure enough, he became a lot stronger. And then it was just great just to have the Ginyu thing. And it's just this is great. This is a nice little callback. Also, actually, a little bit of closure at the same time.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah, it just felt like, the Ginyu thing kind of petered out. He comes back. Okay, now it's closure. Okay, all right. He can go off and join. He can go and join off his Ginyu Force buddies.
See, okay. For one thing, first of all, I'm gonna put this out here because I know there's gonna be some comments about this. If you want to get really technical, but how the frog would have been dead for all of these reasons? Yeah, we get it. That's great. I don't care because it was a really funny idea. So I was able to look past the logic of how, but that doesn't work because of all these other 10 things that happen in the story that would prevent that, whatever. It's taking liberties. It was a funny idea, and I was cool with them doing it.
Just to go along with that, and this ties back to the Frieza movie, something Toriyama said about it is that as the author, him finally getting back some of that control as the original creator, he's hinted at this before with things he's done, but he just flat out said he doesn't really care that much about continuity. And he feels like whatever the best decision is for the story, whatever's fun, whatever makes not the most sense, but just the most sense in the moment, he's happy to go along with it. Continuity be damned. And I think that's just like you were saying, it's a clever little thing and they had something to do with it. So why not do it?
Absolutely. And even, because it's funny, because even in the movie itself, it's like Frieza's stuck in specifically the Earth's hell, and it's a hilarious scene. Yes, we know. In the show, he was in regular hell and blah, 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 and he was gay boyfriends with Cell, which was also hilarious. We get it. Okay, but we don't need to keep 100% consistent with that just to appease you because it was a funny fucking scene and it worked in the context of the movie. So just be happy with it, okay?
You seem way more angry than even I am about fandom.
No, because I don't know, because I meet so many fans who give, I feel, I'm going to go and say this, too much of a shit about those kind of things and are focusing too much on getting uppity about that as opposed to just enjoying the actual entertainment value of it. And listen, I do give a shit about continuity and consistency, don't get me wrong, but it's just meant to be, especially by this point, I feel like Dragon Ball is just it's entertainment. It's not like one of those franchises that you're fully oh my god, you're really investing yourself into the world and the lore like One Piece or Star Wars or something like that. It's entertainment. So it's and especially in the case of where, somebody like Toriyama goes ahead and says, it's I'm just trying to write something interesting and funny and entertaining, enjoy it or not. It's that's the mentality to take. So that's whatever. That's my little mini rant on that.
I agree and disagree with that mini rant as someone who spends an inordinate amount of time dealing with the lore of the series. I appreciate the continuity when it can be maintained. And I very much disagree with the shut up, turn your brain off, just enjoy it. Because I think, we want to hold the story to a higher standard. It is 30 years old at this point. There's so much more you can do with it. We're all older along with it, of course, with the new fans. So there's just a lot of things pulling the series in different directions. But like you were saying, like I was saying with Toriyama, I think at the end of the day, you have to come to terms with who Toriyama is as an author. And at the same time, remember that he's not the only one in charge of it.
And also just to end that as well, because to kind of go with what you were saying as well, my kind of thing is more about in agreement with your point of that canon is something that is so whatever in Dragon Ball that's why I don't think it's worth getting so about in general. That's more of my
nothing
thing. But.
Now, all right. Well, I'm redirecting again. So we were talking about the Tagoma, the Ginyu stuff, a little bit of Shisami
so,
there.
Talking about Ginyu thing and everything, which was really funny. I felt like it was not really utilized to its fullest extent. It was a very, very funny idea, like I was saying, but in the end, it amounted to here's one episode and he acts like Ginyu and he's funny and it's all right, cool. But then it's just okay, he's gone now.
Right. And then that's over. So this was something I was hoping for in the TV version will we get to see what is Frieza's actual training. And while we didn't really see it, we got a really dark hint of what it was there out there in space with Tagoma. So I appreciated that. But then at the same time, like you said, we came back and then we got these couple jokes and then it was all for naught.
Yeah, and then it was all just okay, here's straight up all the stuff that already happened in the movie. It's oh.
I was actually kind of reminded when I saw the training with Tagoma and Freeza. I was kind of reminded when Vegeta was frantically trying to find out how to become Super Saiyan.
Definitely.
Yeah, I got that vibe, and I thought maybe it's a common place. Maybe it's somewhere that Vegeta went to train, and then Freeza went
That's
where
true.
did Vegeta to train? He probably just ate what Vegeta did, and remembering after all the whole Zenkai boost and all that kind of stuff.
Where do we go in space to be angry and throw a temper tantrum, and then we get what we want and we become gold?
So what you're saying is complain long enough and loud enough, and you get what you want because you're a spoiled baby.
And in space where nobody can hear you except for Tagoma.
Right.
Okay, this is going to be my one. I don't usually like to do this sort of thing, but this is going to be my one kind of if I were to do it kind of douche moment, just because this was something that I was really hoping. I should say something I was hoping that they would have done is, and this is spinning off the bit about Frieza's training, is I was hoping so desperately that they would do an episode, just one, all we needed was one episode of going back and forth between Goku and Vegeta training with Whis up in Beerus' realm, and Frieza training, I didn't even realize that Tagoma was going to be involved, but just Frieza's training at the same time, and showing the differences between those.
That would have been great.
I think that if they had done an episode like that, that would have been incredibly cool, very in-depth, great room for character development, great expansion upon what was already shown in the movie. I would have loved something like that. Now, granted, I did like that they did show a lot more about the training between Goku and Vegeta, and yet once again, there's always seems to be like a but, and followed by all of these, kind of like, oh, this was cool, but. Then the other kind of major thing I was sort of hoping for was just a little teeny tiny something extra to show about how the blue-haired Super Saiyan Blue God Super Saiyan form works. The one little teeny tiny thing that we got out of it, and it's like, all right, I guess that's cool that we got that, was that Goku has a line, I think it was in the most recent episode, where he says, I needed help from those other 5 Saiyans to reach the God form the first time. Vegeta was able to achieve this transformation entirely on his own because he's that good. And it's like, all right, well, there is a reason, I guess.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my question for you guys is, so like you were saying, you wanted an explanation for it, and we didn't get an explanation for it. We got an answer about it. And I think that's a very distinct difference in explanation versus an answer. Do you think it was a sufficient one?
I mean, I don't know, because maybe even part of me is like, oh, will we somehow learn more or something? I don't even want to hold on to that hope at this point.
I think my biggest issue with it was that up to now, all the major transformations in Z and Dragon Ball and even GT, they had some sense of occasion. I mean, even when Goku became Super Saiyan God, that had a sense of occasion and significance. Even in Super, that the scene, the music, and the soundtrack in Super when he became Super Saiyan God was really, really epic. I thought, nice. Okay, I'm pumped. Yeah. I'm liking this. And Gohan going Super Saiyan 2 for the first time. Goku going Super Saiyan 3 for the first time on screen. You just think, whoa, those are significant moments. I mean, I'll still attest that Fusion Reborn Goku Super Saiyan 3's transformation, that was just the best. That's the best transformation. And that's like my yardstick. And with Super Saiyan Blue, okay, the first time you see it, it's kind of cool, but you just think, that's not the first time that they did it, and it just felt like a bit of a non-event. And the fact is, to me, it just felt there's something missing.
In some ways, isn't that similar to how Vegeta first transformed against number 19, where that was not his first time. It was just a thing that he could do at that point. Like you were just saying, though, that they made an occasion of it, but maybe the point of this in both the movie and the TV version is this is so beyond him at this point that he's almost nonchalant about it. And maybe that's to drive the point home that, yes, Frieza's technically stronger, but these two have so much more to them that this isn't even a big deal anymore.
I think the difference is that I feel that when Vegeta went Super Saiyan, okay, that's true. You're absolutely correct there. But then you got a flashback almost at once, showing the moment where Vegeta was down on his luck saying, how the hell am I going to get Super Saiyan? And within that moment, he does it. And you just think, oh, okay. I saw it. And you could see he was pushed to the absolute edge of insanity just to become Super Saiyan. And at his most desperate moment, he did it. And I just would have liked to see the moment that they discovered this. And discovered the moment they were able to control their godly energy.
Well, the other kind of interesting thing too, Mike, because your point is completely sound, I
was going to say, I'm actually conflicted about it because this is one of those, well, you don't need to tell me everything, but I feel like if you're going to give that half answer, you might as well just explain it.
Yeah, see, because, okay, the original, the red-haired Super Saiyan God form, what was really unique and really great about the use of that transformation in the movie was how it was attained and Goku's reaction to it. What made it feel very like, okay, this is interesting new material going beyond, where the manga was and etc. about that film, because the Super Saiyan God transformation was made a very big deal out of, is the fact that Goku doesn't like it when he does it. He doesn't like it because he had to get help to reach it, and he was like, I wish that I could have done this on my own because that's what I'm all about in terms of my martial arts studies. And that was what made for a really interesting kind of developmental thing for Goku's character in the span of that entire story. But in both the Battle of Gods adaptation and then going on now with this the blue-haired form, it became kind of trivialized where it's like, okay, well now we just found the God power and now this is just the thing that we're at. And it's like, okay, in some ways that almost kind of And especially without even showing like, okay, what is the significance of the blue form? It also kind of cheapens the kind of like uniqueness about the red-haired Super Saiyan God form. Because, you know, to talk about the confliction a little bit, I agree in that I don't think it needs to necessarily have like this giant like, oh my God, like explanation or whatever. But I think just like giving any kind of like, you know, deal to it in some way, I think just to kind of like put it into context of like what this means for the characters and their growth, you know, would have been cool. But and the other thing too is it was so instantaneous. Like all we're kind of left to assume is, you know, when Whis tosses them in that you know, time chamber-esque kind of pocket dimension where they're training for who knows how long, they come out and they have that transformation. And we don't even see that. So it's like, okay, well then it's like, are we just supposed to like interpret how they got to it, or is it supposed to be left up to our imagination? Like, it's very unclear. It's just like, here it is. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know.
It felt like a letdown.
It's interesting. It is a little conflicting. I do get what you mean on that. There's so much like, it sucks too, because like I was saying before, where I don't like to, you know, get all like woe is me about certain aspects of Dragon Ball, especially that sort of thing, because I feel like it's not that far away from like the power level bitching. But I don't know. I feel like because the Super Saiyan God, the red-haired version of it, was utilized so well and so creatively in the Battle of Gods like story idea, and then the blue-haired form is just like, this is the thing too, and it's just like it's executed a little weak in comparison. It's like, I don't know what really to think about it. So
I think because Super Saiyan God had a more of an impact, because this was a brand new form. And this was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. This is like the newest form of Super Saiyan since we've seen Super Saiyan 4. And you just think, ooh, I wonder what is this form like? This is so different. Goku is much leaner, you know, smaller in frame. Yeah, he looks more kind of like delicate. How is this going to work? And you just think, I found it really interesting, you know, because when we found out about Battle of Gods back in 2013, this was just after the death battle between Goku versus Superman came out. They'd done the months and months of research, and then suddenly Toriyama goes like, it's cute.
Yep.
Here's a new form.
yeah.
Go to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I just saw, as soon as I saw that, I'm thinking, there's going to be a round 2, isn't there?
See, and you know what? That's the funny thing. I'm not to give like too much credit to that either, because Death Battle I have mixed feelings on sometimes.
me too.
But like that's the thing. In that Death Battle video, the way that they like animated it was like the blue-haired form was almost like a Super Saiyan God 2 or something, where like he just goes into one form, then goes into the next one. We don't even really know if that's how it works. We don't know if it's just like, oh, you just like become it. It's like its own separate thing, like sanctioned off, and it's not like you do it in an order or whatever, like when Goku was explaining, you know, 1, 2, and 3 to Boo at that one time.
Right.
Like, I don't even think that is how it is. I think it's just its own thing in and unto itself. It's so vague, and it's just like, here's a cool thing that I guess maybe buy merchandise of or not, whatever.
Well, I kind of like it. It's almost like we're getting a horizontal progression rather than a vertical progression. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, maybe so. That is a good way to look at it, actually.
So, hey, let's talk about someone that doesn't have gold hair. Let's talk about Piccolo.
Okay.
Spoilers
Sure.
here. I mean, if you're listening to it, you're expecting to be spoiled a little bit. Again, not an original thought, but I think it's a good question. Did Piccolo's death mean anything to anyone?
I kind of thought, in a way, I thought it was kind of a nice nod that it was like full circle, that would just come round again. Gohan kind of really being down on his luck. And just like at that moment, we just got a retelling of the Saiyan arc, of the same thing happening again. Piccolo sacrificing himself to save Gohan. But at this point, I felt very different about Gohan at this point. And this was the biggest issue I had with this entire saga, is that Gohan is treated like dirt. I mean, at the time, this is how I felt at the time. Now that we know,
disagree.
At the end,
we're gonna get into this soon.
No, don't worry. My attitude changed very dramatically when I realized where they were going with it, and I'm thinking, okay, now I get it. But at the time, when I'd seen that episode, because Resurrection F treated it quite differently, I didn't feel quite as passionately about Gohan. But in Resurrection F, I just felt like, oh man, this is like really, really bad. I mean, the character that was meant to be penned as the successor to Goku and Z and what it was originally meant to be about Gohan and his development, and he's just completely fallen to bits. He can barely hold Super Saiyan level 1. And at the time, I was just thinking, oh my goodness, imagine all the Gohan fans just kind of he's gone from ultimate form to this in, the span of like 18 months? Or something like that?
Well.
And it's just like, my attitudes changed when I realized where they were going with it at the end of the arc. And that made me extremely happy that Gohan chose to go to Piccolo. It made a lot of sense. He felt indebted to Piccolo for saving his life again, and realizing in this world, and because he wanted to like spend more time with his family and concentrate on his studies, which is perfectly fine. But this return of Freeza made him realize, in this world, I cannot neglect my training. I have to do something to protect my family, because what if Goku is away training? We were lucky that we were heard. I need to be able to protect my family and my friends and the planet. So I know I might not be able to be as strong as my father or Vegeta, but I want to be at least up there being fairly competitive. And I just felt like, good. I like this. This could be this could be a tour de force for Gohan. This could be like the second coming. A good second coming, not the bad Broly second coming.
And, I think we'll see where it goes, because if you're following along with Toyotaro's manga, well, guess what? He's not coming along for the ride. We'll see where that goes. But just to quickly go back to your Gohan fans, I feel like it's almost a Stockholm Syndrome kind of thing. If you are a Gohan fan, I mean, yeah, is he being treated badly now? I don't know. Have you seen or watched Dragon Ball? Like, this is what Toriyama has done with Gohan, literally since Gohan has been introduced. He's set up to be something new and great, and realizes he can't be that. It's both Gohan realizing that and Toriyama as an author realizing, I really have nothing to do with this character. And he kept trying to do something with Gohan. And by the time you get to the Buu arc, he tried one last time. And I think that's what fans really harp on. I don't know why that in particular against Buu really stands out with people, because it's no different from every other time Gohan's set up to be the hero. Either Gohan decides or Toriyama decides, nope, not right for you, and takes him away. To have that happen here again, like, yeah, of course. Are you paying attention? This is what happens.
Gohan and Piccolo, here we go. Okay. Gohan and Piccolo are my two favorite characters in the Dragon Ball universe. They have always been. I've had even before this happened with Super, I have had conversations like this with people about Gohan so many goddamn times with all sorts of different types of Dragon Ball fans regarding the treatment of Gohan. My personal thought is I think that it's perfectly acceptable that he doesn't. In the context of the story, that Gohan doesn't want to be a great, amazing, legendary fighter, or even just a fighter in general. I think it is perfectly acceptable that he places value in other types of things, like having a family and taking care of that family and living a normal life with a job. Yeah. A lot of people that I meet, and I think the reason why is because they look to how cool he was in the fight against Cell. And he was extremely fucking cool.
I agree. Absolutely. I liked him. I love him there too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? Because a lot of people I know who aren't Gohan fans only thought he was cool in that one fight against Perfect Cell when he goes to the 2 form, what later was turned into the 2 form. And every other time they're just like, oh, he's like an annoying whiny little bitch and blah blah blah, this and that. He's just crying and complaining and mad, etc. And the reason that I've always liked Gohan is because of the fact that he's one of the few main characters that I feel consistently has a lot of development and changes and goes through a lot of different types of things. A lot more, actually, than at times Goku even does. The fact that Gohan, for instance, in this case, actually 2 times in a row now for different reasons, was slacking off in his training. Where Vegeta remarks in the Buu arc when we first see Vegeta again for the first time in a while, he's like, you were a lot stronger when you fought against Cell. You've been slacking off. And he's like, yeah, I've been going to school because the world's been at peace and I don't really care that much about practicing martial arts. I'm strong enough to be able to, protect people if it calls for it, like I fought the fucking bank robbers and then, got into the whole Saiyaman mess. And then in this case where he's an adult and now he's got a wife and kid to look after, it's like, yeah, like Because I liken it to this, for instance. I've been out here in California for a little while, and there was this very successful voice actor who I've become acquainted with, and there were rumors flying around that this actor was going to be moving back to where they came from and away from LA when their career was really beginning to take off, because they had met some girl that was living back in where they came from or whatever. And so suddenly all of these people that I knew who were hearing about this were like, oh my God, what is so-and-so fucking thinking that they're doing? Like, they're throwing their career away and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, okay, hold on a minute. First of all, there's more to life than just your career. And second of all, they can still do acting from wherever. Maybe they're not landing big parts in California because that's where all the biggest stuff is. That's where the Gokus and the Vegetas of acting are, but it's like they can still, be an actor where they came from originally. And if they place more value in, love and having a life outside of just their career, there's nothing wrong with that. And lecturing them is completely unnecessary. And I know that sounds like maybe kind of an extreme example to give, but I really think it's a good kind of, same kind of metaphor where it's like, I don't think that Gohan has to be this super fucking badass, oh my God character on the same level as Goku and Vegeta, because he's a different kind of character. It's like, do we fault Bulma for being like not a fighter and weak or whatever and like useless, quote unquote,
or not going on adventures all the time anymore? Yeah, I mean, characters change, and sure, maybe some of that is the fault of Toriyama kind of realizing, well, I don't know what to do with this character anymore, as he's done countless times with countless characters in countless series. It's not restricted just to Dragon Ball.
Right.
But yeah, I agree.
But I also don't think that even Gohan and Bulma, like for instance, I don't think they fall into the same category as somebody like Launcher or whatever, some of those kind of characters that just fall by the wayside. Because like Bulma's purpose is she's funny, and she is. She's fucking hilarious. And even Jocko, who's not strong at all in the grand scheme of things, he's funny, and he serves his purpose. So like Gohan serving the purpose of just being a character in that universe who plays his part and has his development and his story for what it's worth. And the fact that Masuko, to go back to your bit about how, the fact that he's acknowledging, okay, maybe I should pick back up on this a little bit. Piccolo, help me out because this is my reason for doing that. That is good. That is a path of development. And I think that that's completely something that's worth appreciating.
So I think this will actually maybe kind of actually be a point in Gohan's life where he's able to strike a perfect balance of the two. Because he's been conflicted, because he's half Saiyan, half human. He is, Chi-Chi wanted him to become a scholar, he has, but Goku wants him to be a competent fighter. And he has shown traits to be able to be that. Between those two, he's been conflicted, and it's caused havoc with his life. And, he's had periods of stability, but in the end it comes back to bite him really bad, in the fact that he is almost killed by Freeza and was barely able to kind of defend himself. And it's just like, it was just that moment of clarity. And you just realize, I can't be one or the other. Let's try and do both. Because, he's reached a point where he's not suddenly going to become stupid overnight. He is he is an extremely intelligent person, probably quite close to Bulma in terms of intelligence, and he's going to retain that. And also, I'm pretty sure that he's not going to get any sense of shame, because I think Mr. Satan would be quite impressed. Says, hey, my son-in-law's both smart and strong. He's not going to get any kind of like rejection, and I'm sure Vidal's not going to suddenly say, no, you're not allowed to do that. Look after the baby. She's not going to do that. Because, she remembers when she liked to fight and, learning about ki control. That was cool. So she'll understand. So maybe this could be the point in Gohan's life where he goes like, you know what? I've actually found what my place in life is. I don't have to be the strongest, but I certainly want to prove what I can do.
Meanwhile, in the abridged world, he grows up and suddenly he has a British accent now. Well, I guess kind of on that, going back to the original subject too, about like this, did Piccolo's death have any significance? I think the answer in that we just talked about Gohan as a result of that was that the significance was it served as a point of development for Gohan's character. Yeah. So I think that was the significance.
And I think it gave us that great moment of Was Gohan screaming in pain? Yes, he was, but he actually had another reason to do it. And that line from Goku about, I don't remember exactly what it was, like, your message got to me, or we heard you, like, oh, that just hit. I don't remember the line because I think I was too busy tearing up. Like, that hit me in the right place.
See, okay, and right there. Okay, so the fact that you just said that a second ago, that was the raw emotion that you got from seeing that. So clearly, despite our complaints, there was still
there was a reason for it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there was still something to this that struck a chord, and I think again we're still all looking to the future and having some kind of positive hope that Super is going somewhere and going to have some interesting stuff. I was telling this to same pessimistic friend who will not be named, that seeing the little previews we've been getting of the future in Toyotaro's manga has been enough for me to be like, you know what? I think this new arc that we're going to get is going to be really interesting, really entertaining, and could have a lot of new, even though it's another tournament, you could say, it's still lending himself to, because it's very easy to trash it for that immediately, but it's still lending itself, I feel, to what could be a lot of really fun material, especially with both the team that is representing Universe 7 for Beerus, as well as these new characters that, despite the fact that by this point their reveal has been a little soured by the fact that the Dragon Ball Xenoverse character creator exists. I'm still very curious to learn about a lot of them and what they're all about and kind of what's going to happen with that. I think could be very interesting. But so I guess kind of we've said almost. Has there been anything that we haven't hit up specifically about the F arc itself yet? Like anything, Mike or Roscoe, you want to talk about?
I kind of wanted to hit the music, but I feel like there's not a whole lot to say. It was kind of a retread of what he did for the movie version. We did mention the animation a little bit. I just kind of want to go on record as this is something I've been quoted a little bit out of context, but in context about, I think part of the problem with the analysis of the animation, and I've used this phrase a lot lately, is that I feel a lot of people, I hate to pull the age card on the younger spectrum, confuse being a critic with being critical. And especially we're in this era of analyzing a weekly TV show. I know Is It the AV Club, the website that kind of pioneered the reviewing shows on a weekly basis. Dragon Ball, especially Dragon Ball Super, it's meant to be a disposable show to sell merchandise. And yeah, again, we do want to hold it to a higher standard because we love it so much. We're such big fans of the show. We want it to succeed and be amazing in all aspects. It's not really meant to be analyzed that way. And that doesn't mean you can't do it, but I think people lose sight of what Dragon Ball actually is, which is a mass market show primarily aimed at children to generate sales of merchandise, to then make them into bigger fans, and then they will sell it to a new generation of fans that they will re-indoctrinate into the series 10 years down the line. Like, this is what's happening with the show. There's not really this master plan. They're flying by the seat of their pants. And again, we wish they would do more. And so I don't think the big hubbub over the animation, even acknowledging what a rush schedule it's under and how poor it can look sometimes, I don't think it's actually as bad as people say. A lot of people pull out those in-between frames, and I think go back and look at the movies. Go back and look at the recent movies. Go back and look at the original show. Go back and look at the theatrical films. DBZ Movie 6 has some of the worst animation in the show itself compared to the show itself. I say that it's no different from how it used to be, and people come back, no, it's completely, no, it really is. This is exactly how Dragon Ball has always been and will always be, and you don't have to like it, but you do have to accept it. And yes, some shots are not great, but like Masako was saying earlier, that next episode is probably going to look better and be a more enjoyable episode. So just hang on another week and remember that Dragon Ball is a serialized show. There's always something new on the horizon, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to get too hung up over last week's poorly animated scene.
All beautiful points. I want to add, as an animator to that, this is also the case for, honestly, most shows these days is absolutely how that is. And I mean, because even you look at any, show on like Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, Disney, whatever, there's very few, if any at all, shows that I can think of off the top of my head, pretty much the only one I can think of at all really is The Legend of Korra, where like making the animation beautiful is a priority. Like 9 times out of 10, it's really not that big of a deal to people, to production companies making animated, week to week shows or just like ongoing shows to make the animation like a fucking masterpiece. It's not because like maybe back in the day when like there was more money to be spent on 2D stuff, it was a little bit more rampant, so maybe we're just used to that. But no, that's not the way it is. And you want to know something to anybody out there? This is a perfect tie-in. If anybody out there, if you want to see Dragon Ball beautifully animated, then you know what you need to do? Watch Resurrection F, the fucking movie. Because as far to me personally, and maybe there's some of the older movies look better, but as far as I'm concerned, Resurrection F and the fight scenes in that movie are some of, if not the best looking animation that Dragon Ball anything has ever had.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty true. I'd say that it's up there with Fusion Reborn, because up there I thought that made me realize that just the close-ups of Gogeta just turning round before he just releases his final attack, well, one and only attack, was just like, ooh, that looks crispy. I like
Dead
that.
Zone has great stuff.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I am looking at my laser discs on the wall of DBZ Movie
Dead
1.
Zone.
And what I love about that movie, and not to promote how wonderful DBZ Movie 1 is, but that's exactly what I'm doing. It's not always about the animation, but I think that movie has the animation. It has the choreography. Goku versus Nikki and Ginger, that is some of the best choreography in the entire franchise. It's not just that, it's also the amazingly dark gothic backgrounds. That movie has the soundtrack to that movie has everything. And I think there's valid criticisms to make with the Freeza movie. Yes, the fight choreography is good, but is there enough imagination in how that's framed on screen? And are we being kind of tricked with the fight choreography? I think there's a lot of valid points to make there. And maybe that's just me coming from the 90s where everything in the 90s was better. That's okay. You can paint
No, I mean, that's fair. No, listen, I love Dead Zone too. I'm certainly not going to refute that.
We're still friends.
I think that it's particularly the Z Fighters versus the Frieza army, I think is like one of the most gorgeous looking animated sequences that Dragon Ball has had. Amongst the many other ones, particularly in the movies where they tend to have a little bit of a more of the budget put towards the visuals looking nicer. And on the other hand too, by the way, like kind of taking it in another direction, I hear a lot of people who are big One Piece fans criticize the anime for a lot of the same kind of problems that Dragon Ball has always had from back in the day too. But recently we I don't know if I'm assuming you guys probably haven't seen this, but one of the most recent episodes that aired for One Piece was also a very big one that also featured a transformation of the main character. And it was beautifully animated, beautifully paced out. It felt like a 22-minute like feature film, the way that like it was choreographed and like storyboarded and everything was fantastically done, I thought. And the show doesn't always get episodes like that on a fucking weekly basis, and it's probably not going to, because it's the same kind of setup as with any shonen series, not just Dragon Ball. And so on that note, what maybe might be the case, and I think it's perfectly acceptable to think this, as we're getting into the completely new material, this new Champa arc with the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament and all that, we might get some legendarily, awesome looking battles between our favorite characters and these new characters coming up. We may get something like that will go down in history, just like Goku versus Beerus and Goku versus Golden Frieza and the Z Fighters versus the Frieza army, became legendary and part of Dragon Ball's history in the last couple of years when those new movies came out. Who knows? Well, I guess to kind of wind things down a little bit, do we want to talk about thoughts, hopes, predictions, anything at all about the Champa arc, as it'll now have already been started by the time that this Kirblog comes out?
I'd probably just want to say, we hold the kind of the in-betweener episodes, like all the little comedic moments in between the two movie arcs. We hold them in high regard, and they were great, and I'd just like to see more of that. And now we're going into something which is completely new. I have high hopes that it's just gonna be more of that, so we can actually get what I believe is the right balance of comedy and action that the original Dragon Ball did so well. and is what garnered the original fan base so brilliantly. And what GT failed to do, they failed to get the comedy action balance right. And I feel like Super, when it's not reliant on the movies, in fact, I think Super's like a child, and the movies are its parents. It's kind of reliant on its parents, but now it's reached adulthood, and it needs to now go out and venture on its own and see where it goes. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I agree entirely. I think they were beholden too much to the original story while wanting to do something new with it, while also stalling for time.
To be fair, those movies made over $100 million worldwide. So I'm thinking, and it cost a tenth of that to make. So I'm thinking,
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
So,
no wonder they want to like kind of milk out those plots a couple more. You know, those plots though.
Dem plots, yo.
What about you, Mike?
What about me? I think I just kind of said it. I mean, I'm always excited for new material. Toriyama's looking to expand the world with the new underlying story and character designs that he's created. Remember, Toriyama is not involved on a week-to-week basis. He does not write scripts for the show. He's not in the animation studios directing things. He's just providing the impetus for what is about to come. So I'm always interested to see what he's got in store for us. And I do like interpretations of that by the production staff. So I'm always interested to see new things. And of course, I'm a little bit cautious about it. I wouldn't hold out hope for those amazing moments. You guys still seem to think we're going to get some beautiful moments, and maybe we will, but I don't think at the level that we kind of remember. But a lot of that is also the rose-tinted glasses. Go back to DBZ 119 versus 120. We're going to have more of those moments.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally fair. I don't think there's any harm in being grounded about it. I will say, though, on the case of what you were saying, Moscow, with finding that balance, I think maybe a good indicator, maybe a little bit of level of like, all right, there's some confidence to be had here, is merely the existence of this new character, Monaka, who is like, when I saw, for those of you who haven't seen this character, I won't spoil too much, but I'll just say, when I saw this new character that will be introduced in Super very soon, I was like, Toriyama, you beautiful son of a bitch.
I know, right?
My God, I just don't ever change.
It's the perfect answer for all the fans saying, I want Broly back. Oh yeah, do you? Well, here's what you got instead.
At first I was just thinking, what the hell? And then I thought about it for a little longer, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is perfect. Because Beerus has been hyping this character up so much, saying, oh yeah, you're kind of tough. I thought someone who was better.
You're okay.
Yeah, you're okay, I guess.
Not like the last guy. And let me just say, the day before, or rather within the day that we recorded this, a few hours earlier before this, I was hanging out with some friends who were also big Dragon Ball fans, or like they've been keeping up with Super and know what's going on about it. And I told them the premise of what the Champa arc is going to be about, more or less, and then proceeded to show them Monaka. And basically, we were all laughing in joy for a good 20 minutes just about that. And it was already made into like a great joke, and not in like a mocking way, like in like a this is gonna be hilarious kind of way. And I guess in terms of I do like Champa and Vados. Like, we don't know a whole lot about them just yet. The anime, I think, has a little bit of catching up to do, because it seems like in the manga, Mike, you've talked about this a little bit in your podcast, but in the manga, they've already shown scenes of, what I think a lot of they're going to be animating, like in the upcoming episodes, about like them looking for the Super Dragon Balls, and Kaioshin and Kibito being split back up again, a lot of stuff like that. I think that we're going to be getting a lot of that in the form of the next couple episodes before we like fully catch up with where the manga is. And then I think probably at some point the show will like surpass where the comic is.
Yeah.
I would assume. Yeah, and then the other thing too is I know my joke about like, haha, a lot of the Universe 6, team characters look like they were made in the Dragon Balls universe, character creator.
Right.
That's a little bit like, oh, like that's not fair to say that, because of like, that's just, it's Toriyama style. He has a lot of like, you could make that same joke at any of the character designs of like Dragon Quest or, Chrono Trigger or Blue Dragon, whatever kind of thing. It's like, haha, I'm intrigued to learn about these guys. I just seeing them and the presence that they have is like, all right, I'm open. Let's see what happens with this. And just the concept of this, and the fact that it seems like it has that that sense of like, you know, humor and seriousness balanced together, kind of like what we liked about Battle of Gods back in the day, you know, only a couple years ago, really.
Well, in internet time, that was forever ago. Chris.
Yeah. Oh no, it was centuries ago by now. It's making me still, despite again the issues with the Golden Freeza saga, as I'm still calling it. So there, you can suck my nuts. Sorry. You know, I have confidence that we might get some cool stuff out of this. So here's to the future with the next, you know, however long this might go, and who knows, maybe there will be even more after the Champa arc. We don't know how long they plan on, you know, doing this for. We've done over a full, you know, 26 episode seasons worth of episodes by this point. There's been no indication of how many they're going to do or how long this is going to go for. So, you know.
I mean, in terms of length, I think, as this is Dragon Ball, they'll do it for as long as they can get away with.
64 whole episodes.
I think they'd like to see if they can get longer than GT.
Any closing thoughts before we run away screaming and kicking?
I'm excited. I'm optimistic. I'm also cautiously optimistic, but that's how I am with everything.
I'm all those things. And
a bag of chips.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, Moscow, you first, because you have not gotten to plug your stuff since spring of last year, since fucking Resurrection F. So tell everybody out there where they can find you on the interwebs.
Well, you can basically find me on Twitter and MasterCoX, or you can check out my YouTube channel, MasterCoX Stream, where I just post bad fanfiction videos, occasional anime review, and even maybe, yeah, now just actually dabbling in some more Dragon Ball stuff, like editorials.
And of course, they can hear you as Goku and Gohan on Dragon Ball Z Abridged through Team 4.
Oh my God, is that you?
Whoa.
Oh,
I had no idea.
that's me. I'm the Goku, the muffin button, whatever.
By the way, Ben Diskin, last time he answered the phone, he literally, he literally just responded with muffin button, and I'm just like, fuck you. So you've infected him. Congratulations. Anyway, Mike, I mean, everybody knows by this point, but do it anyway.
Hi, my name is Mike. I go by VegettoEX when I don't go by Mike. Either or is fine. I'm one of the 4 dudes that runs Kanzenshu, KANZENSHUU.com. We are that Dragon Ball site that all the stuff comes from. You can go there, you can read things, you can listen to things, and thanks.
Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you everybody out there, whether you were on my YouTube channel or perhaps on the Kanzenshu podcast feed. Did you plug? You plugged that? Yes.
What? Oh yeah, we have a podcast. We haven't recorded one in a while because everyone's been sick and on holiday. But that's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll get well soon, everybody, if you hear this either.
Hey, I'm fine. I was just going to talk to myself for the next episode.
I don't care about you. I care about your wife and your boyfriend. your boyfriend, Heath Geo.
I was going to say, which boyfriend? I have 3.
Okay, yes. Go check out the Kanzenshu podcast. And, you know, if you're listening through this, I hope you enjoyed this fill-in for a podcast episode. That's going to do it. So, and everybody, yeah, again, thank you for listening and for however long this went for, I think over an hour by this point. In the comments below, if you've been keeping up with the show, leave us your thoughts about the Resurrection F movie versus the Golden Frieza adaptation arc thing, whatever you want to call it. And any thoughts and hopes and dreams, aspirations that you have for the Champa arc.
Stealing my shit, Chris. I hear you.
that is already underway by the time that this comes out. Let us know your thoughts and comments, and if you have ideas for future Dragon Ball or non-Dragon Ball related Kirblog topics in the future, leave a comment about that or hit me up on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, all the usual links that I have. That's gonna do it. So we will see you next time on Dragon Ball Super talking about discussions. Bye.